Setting up a backend for a mobile app with Firebase is incredibly easy. Let's walk through how to do it for an Android app I built in my previous tutorial. It's a Flappy Bird style game, and it only needed a single prompt to create. If you're not sure how to set up a mobile development environment yet, make sure to watch that video first. The first thing to check is the application ID of the app. Right now it's com.example.antigravity_demo. We need to give this ID to the backend, so let's change it to something more appropriate. I'll ask Gemini what would be a good unique application ID for our game. Gemini gives me 4 solid options. I'll go with com.mvanel.flappycube. Our Flappy character doesn't really look like a bird anyway. It's more of a cube or a rectangle. We'll also need to update the namespace to match, so I'll ask Gemini about that too. The namespace is now fixed too. Just to check that everything still works, I'll build the app. Now for the backend setup. You could go to console.firebase.google.com and click the Get Started button. If you don't already have a Firebase account, you'll need to sign up. It's free, and even the services are free to use because Firebase has a very generous free tier. But there's an even better way to do this. I'll just tell Gemini to create a Firebase backend for the app. Gemini comes back with a clear implementation plan. Let's take a quick look. It's going to use the Flutterfire command line interface to handle the setup. That sounds good, so I'll click Proceed. By the way, I'm using the same account for both Antigravity and Firebase. Since I've done this before, I don't even need to log in, but if you're new to this, just follow the prompts to sign up and log in. The setup is finished, so let's go through the walkthrough. It registered the Android and web apps. The smartest next step is to open the Firebase console and see what actually got created. There is a new project called FlappyCube Antigravity. It created apps for Android, iOS, and web. I'll select the Android app and then go straight to the project settings in general. Everything looks good so far. Our next step is to set up Google Authentication, but before that, I'll add a certificate fingerprint for the app. It helps the backend recognize that the app trying to communicate with it is really our app and not a hacker. To get the fingerprint, we open a terminal and navigate to the Android folder. There's a Gradle wrapper command and we pass it the signing report parameter. There are the fingerprints. SHA1 is needed this time. If you want to set up Firebase App Check for extra security features, you need SHA256. I'll copy the SHA1. New certificate fingerprint added. Perfect. Now we can move on to authentication. First, Google Authentication needs to be enabled. For security reasons, this step must be done directly in the Firebase console, not through Gemini in Antigravity. Just click Enable and then provide a support email address. I'll use a Google Groups email I created earlier. Authentication is ready, but we need to update the Google Services file in our environment, so I'll download it. The file belongs in the Android/app folder. As you can see, the OAuth client parameter is empty, so I'll just copy the new file there. Now we have the OAuth configuration there. The next step is to get the app to authenticate. I've enabled Google Authentication in the Firebase console. Require users to sign in before they can start playing. It looks like we have a new authentication screen in the app. Let's try if it works. It seems to work in the app, but I'll double-check from the Firebase console. There we can see the same logged-in user. With authentication working, it's time to set up a database. We'll use Firestore, one of the two databases available in Firebase. To use it, we need to upgrade the pricing plan to pay-as-you-go. That sounds scary, but it really isn't. There's plenty of free quota included, so you can develop and run your app without paying anything. At this point, you need to link a billing account. If you don't already have one, you'll need to create it. Creating a billing account is free, but it does require a credit card. Then we are ready to set up the Firestore. I'll go with the default values here. For the security rules, there is production mode and test mode. Test mode means your database is public for anyone to use. Production mode blocks all access by default. I'll select production mode. The database is ready and we can start using it. I'll tell Gemini, save the score history to Firestore every time a game ends. I've already initialized the Firestore database. Let's review the walkthrough. Scores are stored in the Scores collection. There will be a user ID, score, and timestamp. That sounds good. I'll try it out. I have the database view in the background while I play the game. Uh-oh, nothing. After refreshing the page, there is still nothing. So storing data isn't working, and honestly, I'm glad this happened. It gives us a chance to practice debugging a real backend issue, which is one of those tricky skills worth learning. I'll open a terminal and type the adb logcat command, and then save the output to a file so it's easy to search through. Just to be sure, I'll reproduce the error one more time. If I search the logs for the word error, I get over 1,000 matches. Those are all kinds of errors collected during development, so that's nothing to panic about. Instead, let's search for Firestore. Okay, now we get much fewer errors. This is an important part. I'll go to the last match of the error, which is 55 of 55. There we see permission denied. The caller does not have permission to execute the specified operation. I already know what's causing this. Let's go to the Rules tab in the Firestore database view. Remember, we initialized the database in production mode, which blocks all traffic, and Gemini never updated the rules after that. I'll tell Gemini, the scores aren't appearing in Firestore. Please provide the security rules to fix this. Also, to make things right, I'll add that I want to ensure that only authenticated users can write data and they should only be able to create or update their own score records. It is ready. Let's see the walkthrough. I asked just to provide the rules for me so I could copy and paste them, but it looks like Gemini also deployed the rules. Yes, it did. Well, that is less work for me, so it is okay. I'll refresh the database view. There are new rules stating that request.auth must not be null, and the request UID must match the user ID. That looks like exactly what we wanted. I'll play again. Still nothing. I'll refresh the page. And there it is. The score is 1. At this point, we have a backend with authentication fully working. The app is ready for testing on a real device. I'll tell Gemini to build the Android APK file. And it is ready. There is the path to the APK file, and you can either transfer it with a wire to your real physical device, or you can upload it to Google Drive and install it from there. Here is my real physical device, and it already has the app installed. First comes authentication. It looks like it works. Then I'll play to save the score. From the database view, we can confirm that the score was stored there. The app works fine on a real device too. Nice. You've just seen a simple and cost-effective way to add authentication and a database backend to an Android app. In the next videos, I'll keep building on this and cover things like publishing the app. If you liked the video, leave a comment. I'll see you in the next one.